In this video, I wanted to talk about accepting your flaws and why accepting your flaws is so important, and it allows you to be at a more enlightened state, which ultimately allows you to attract all the things that you want into your life. So it's a very hard concept for many people to accept and admit, because a lot of the times people don't like to accept the fact that they do have flaws. But it's like two sides to the same coin. For instance, if you have a quarter and you have the heads and tails, it's still a quarter, but it has different sides to it. And that's what we need to understand when accepting our flaws. This little concept that we're still one whole item, a whole being, when we have flaws. So maybe in certain situations we're flawless, but in other situations we are flawed. And for people to really accept and admit that they have flaws takes a lot of humility on their half, because it's very hard and people want to come out strong and looking flawless, and it's very hard for them to admit any type of difficulty or dysfunction just based on what society has taught us, that it's not fine to be flawed. Like, we are unable, it's not a characteristic or quality that people look for. But once you see yourself as a whole being, knowing that people can be flawed and people can be flawless and it's still the same person, then it allows them to accept their whole being as one, as whole and balanced, because they're able to accept who they are as a person, knowing that yes, there are times that I am loved and there are times that I'm not loved, but we're still the same thing. It's still universally one entity, one essence, that love. So there are times, if you think of a time where, okay, maybe at this situation I wasn't loved, so therefore you have one example of one time you were not loved, so therefore you can admit that you weren't loved. But also you could think of a time or an experience where you were loved and how you felt about it, so there is an example of you are loved. So you have an example of when you were not loved and when you were loved, but it's still the same thing. It's still love in essence, and accepting and admitting that yes, I am loved, and no, I am not loved is still the same thing. And accepting these flaws, these are an easier way to go about the acceptance. Okay, so those were your examples for yourself to really hone in on how to really accept yourself, and also whatever flaws you may think you have. Many of the times people don't realize that they need to accept both the negative and positive side of themselves to become whole, and that what really allows them to attract the lives that they want, to really be whole about themselves, because nobody wants somebody who half-assed themselves, who only believes in half of themselves. You need to really admit and accept yourself for being whole, and that's why I use the example and the metaphor of we're two sides to the same coin. So I hope this helped you guys really learn to accept your flaws, and I recommend you doing it. So take care until next video.